I'm Scott Al Miller. This is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua. We are doing a super late live stream for the weekend this Sunday because I was at the Ipico and was in Managua before that. So I've been very busy all weekend and then had sick people to take care of and different things to do. So I am just now getting to the live stream and getting today's video out. So sorry for all the delays. Here we are. We are up and ready. Boy. All right. So, and I just sent pictures of the volcano going off. I have not yet heard that. I've not had a chance to look at the news. I've been at the Ipico, so we've been a little bit out of touch. So I'm looking to see if there's something in the news going on right now. Not that's showing up right at the moment. All right, so let's get into today's topic while we're waiting for people to sign on. I don't know how long we're going to be on tonight. It is very late. We don't normally do them this late, but so some questions came up. We had someone trolling on the WhatsApp group today, and it's always, I find, very frustrating. Right? We don't have too many trolls on there. We've worked really hard to moderate it down and to keep it under control. And we've done a pretty good job, I think, and it's worked out. And I always really, I mean, I like when we eliminate a troll because it's a lot of bad conversation that then goes away and things just work a lot better. So that part's good. But I hate having to make the judgment call and pulling a trigger on someone. We had two, actually, people. One on the WhatsApp group that was got banned today. Because they violated trolling rules. They've been trolling. I've had so many complaints about them that it's a little bit tough. So, that actually makes it a little bit better that that we had a lot of complaints over a period of time. They'd already hit the almost getting banned previously for racist remarks. And then we had an offline talk, and they were like, "Oh, I don't understand anything," right? And then today making complaints that old people don't know tech like him because he's young and he didn't. So either he was lying about that, or he was lying about his questions, right? Something like he was asking basic adulting questions, and earlier today was making ridiculous points about like, I'm just going to call the police and ask them if the country's open, and just stupid stuff that obviously is all fake, right? We're assuming that he's really not that dumb. If he's really that dumb, should not be traveling on his own, should not be on his own in any circumstance, but assuming, giving him any credit at all, just trolling. So he got nuked, and we had someone, I did put this into the private group earlier, we had someone complain about being banned, and funny that they complained about being censored, not banned, which is one of our very strict rules. You're not allowed to lie about being censored, because I mean that's a really vicious lie, right? Now, if you are censored and you say, well, you shouldn't censor me, well, that's a discussion point. But don't lie about being censored to try to pretend people are censoring you, like you had something to say, and these people, it's a very devious tactic. It's incredibly evil, and so we have a very strict rule about that. And I haven't even been online. I posted a bunch of videos before I left, and I've been in Managua. I come back to someone. First of all, I haven't censored anyone in 90 days. Like, every time I do, I put it into the private group. So I've got a record. Like, it's very rare. If it's a bot or something, that, yeah, all the time. But if it's an actual person that we think, right, anything could be a bot these days. But what we think is a person, I make a big note of it. So we haven't had one in a really long time. And then I was away for several days. Like, I'm not even looking at the notes. And then someone posts, how dare you censor me, blah, blah, blah. So they got instantly nuked. I don't even know what they were talking about. I have no idea, because there was no post that got censored. So they just made the whole thing up. So always fun. So it's been one of those kind of days around here. But so since there were these adulting basics questions on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about it. One, we're going to start off with eSIM. So there is, so if you're, as this person claimed to be, younger than me, eSIMs have been, for the last several years, a very important part of the technology, right? It's just taking normal SIMs and putting them into the hardware of your phone. So it's still a SIM, right? So calling it an eSIM is a really misleading thing. Is it? Yeah, but it's not relevant to anything, right? It's a SIM. That's what matters. And an eSIM is equal to a normal SIM. It's just one is a physical SIM and one is a virtual SIM. Is a much better way to put it. eSIM isn't even meaningful as a term. And so it's best not to use it. Don't use the term eSIM in general unless you have a very specific need to, right? Now, it could be right, but don't use it because everybody is confused, mostly as to why it's being brought up, right? So if you need a SIM for your phone, you say, I need to get a SIM for my phone, if that's what you want to say. Most people would say, I need to get a number for my phone. And we all know that numbers come on SIMs, either physical or E. Right? So the normal terminology for normal people is just to say, I need to get a number. But there are a lot of people who have started, and this is a brand new thing. Like we've had eSIMs for a long time. Most of us have been on them for quite some time. So we're well used to using, it's like bizarre that there's this new group of people, and this guy claimed to be one, who use the term eSIM to mean some online service or something, which is obviously not an eSIM. An eSIM is a thing that's part of your phone, right? So it's not. So he's using it for something that isn't an eSIM. They're using it for services that provide their services on an eSIM, which is kind of like your phone provider saying, they may say they're a phone company, but they don't say they're a phone, right? You don't go to T-Mobile and say, I'd like a new. You don't go to T-Mobile and say, I'm getting service, and they say, okay, here's your new phone, and it's just a piece of paper that you sign. You'd say, no, a phone is this thing that I hold at my, like I can touch it. They'd be like, no, we don't use it that way. We use phone to mean your account number. No, of course they don't do that, right? It makes no sense, but people are doing that with eSIM to be weird, like super weird. I don't understand. And then he claimed to be really literate. Right, just because he was young, which would require him to have been trolling. This is very basic, right? This isn't tech stuff, right? These are things that people just go. Anyone with an iPhone has to know this, right? Because you only have eSIMs with iPhones. So all iPhone users and many Android users are using eSIMs and have for a long time. So that's an important thing to know. The thing that consistently comes up as being useful to know beyond don't misuse terminology. This is general life advice, right? Don't take specific terms and use them unless you know what they mean. Just in general in life. You will always create a problem if you, and this is what I think he was doing. We've had a lot of discussions with this guy. Bright, he is not. And he constantly was trying to make himself sound right, and failing, and it caused over and over again a lot of problems. I think that seems to be a pattern, and one of these was this trying to use the term eSIM and refusing to use real words and describe the things he wanted to do. And he just, even though we would say it was clear he was saying things that didn't make sense, everyone's responding to him with information based on what he said. And it wasn't matching like his tone and the things that would work for him. It didn't make any sense. So it was clear he was by the end that he was throwing out terms he didn't know, and then instead of explaining himself, continued to throw out words he didn't know, trying to cover. The assumption being people who don't know what an eSIM is will be surprised to find that everyone else knows what it is. Right, and so they'll use it thinking that they can get away with it. Well, it means that, and they can just bluff, right? But when everyone knows what it is and they're surprised that you don't, that bluff doesn't work. And that's kind of where he seemed to be. But the important thing that really came out of the conversation is this guy claims to be young and supposedly tech literate, and a digital nomad who works full time and is very concerned about his digital nomad career. Well, that's great, and that's a thing that a lot of us really care about. It's a very important thing for many of us because we work in this space, and having capabilities to be rocking it as digital nomads can be very important, right? So it's something that we care a lot about, and or we worry a lot about, maybe. and we research a lot. We have very few people on the live stream tonight. Just want to point out, I know it's super late on a Sunday. I'm not expecting to get many people. Hopefully people will watch this later. We were going to miss the day otherwise, so we're getting it in there. The importance for anyone who works from home of having an actual business phone, I cannot overstate. And this is one of those things that it is difficult if you've never worked in business, if you've never had a business phone. You would not believe how many, this is if you're working for like US, Canada, Western Europe. If you're working for South America or something, yeah, all bets are off. You're probably working on WhatsApp. The world works differently. But if you're working for the big corporate environments of the North, there's this expectation that you'll have basic phone capabilities because everyone has them. They're super cheap and they automatically give you unlimited global calling, period. Anyone can call you. You can call anyone from anywhere in the world, anytime, any device. You can just do anything. This is an expectation of the modern world. It's kind of like I expect you to have a website with a SSL certificate, right? Why do we expect you to have that? Because it's basic security and identity, and it's free. So the only time you wouldn't have it is, or two times you wouldn't have it, is when you have no need for it whatsoever, or you're beyond lazy. And those are the legitimate ones. Obviously, if you're trying to scam someone, you would do that. That's what we worry about, and that's why we don't put up with people being lazy about it, because it opens things up for scamming. So why would people not have a business phone? If you're a working digital nomad, there's so many reasons you need to have a real phone. And it's one of those things that as you work with people who like try to get away without one, you constantly uncover things like this guy who claimed he had no limitations and then talked about his limitations and then said, hey, well, I have no limitations. How dare you say I have no, and then asked how he could overcome his limitations. He was clearly not getting the working environment that is expected of him, but didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to admit that it was something that everyone else had solved and he didn't even know how to talk about. So with a normal business line, there's two ways that this can happen. Either you work for a company that provides them to you. So my company, for example, we know our people work all over. We don't want them to have to deal with these things on their own. That would be crazy. We provide them phone lines from the company. It cost us nothing. No competent company is paying for their phone lines, right? Or there's some cost. It's pennies, right? Absolutely trivial cost. And you can provide these en masse, right? So every single employee can have a phone line. There's no reason not to. And then they can call each other. They can call customers. Customers can call them. Now, I understand there's some companies that just never need to make a call. That's fine. And then you may not do it because it's just not worth the effort. But normal companies, especially digital nomads, often have the need to be able to make and take calls. And no matter how much someone tries to say, well, I've got Wi-Fi calling on my cell phone and that's good enough. It's not good enough, right? The first time you can't take a call because your Wi-Fi is down, it wasn't good enough. The first time you forgot to turn your Wi-Fi on and you made a $50 phone call instead of a free one, that wasn't good enough. The first time you were driving in the car and couldn't get a call because you didn't have Wi-Fi, it wasn't good enough. Right? Things that we expect anywhere else, suddenly don't work. And then there's all the other, right, things. The call quality on cell phones generally isn't very good. The needing to maintain service, having to know a phone number that could change. You don't have any flexibility, right? So as a digital nomad, if you have, just as an example, an American cell phone service, and you're using it as a roaming, at some point, they may cut you off if you do it for too long, and then it's a problem. Cell phones are not meant to be stable. We treat them that way often, but it's a mistake. They're not really meant to be used that way. And so what you really want is a stable number that you can give to a business, that you can use for a long period of time. And if you need to change carriers, you need to change service, you need to change countries, it doesn't change on you, right? Your cell phone is meant to be. And the system works, right? As much as telephone numbers are archaic, It's been around long enough that they work. Your cell phone is designed to be a mobile device tied to you personally. And it's meant to be ephemeral, meaning the number on here is never meant to be a permanent thing. Anyone who tries to act like it is fundamentally misunderstands telephones. Now, you may want to keep your number and hold on to it as long as you can, and maybe you get decades out of it, and that's fine. It's fine to want to not have change. Change is annoying. But the concept of cell phones, so they're meant to be ephemeral. You just change your number. They used to make you change every time you lived in a different city. You couldn't carry the numbers with you. You can get permanent numbers that are not for cell phones. And you can answer them anywhere, including on your cell phone. But there's a difference between a cell call and a modern business call that you happen to use on this little portable computer. And that's important. What happens if you lose your... So to the digital nomad guy, he says he's had no problems. But as an IT manager, if my employee said that to me and then said, every day I depend on this, and if it's stolen, I don't have the number and I have no way to replace the number. And that would mean there's no way to contact me and no way for me to contact anyone. And no one knows what to do because my number was tied to a physical little box that could break or be stolen or get dropped in the ocean. And when you say that to an IT manager, risk is failure, right? The risk of that not working is part of the equation, right? It's like playing Russian roulette, right? This is the example we give in risk studies. When people mistake getting lucky with making good decisions or not having had problems, we use the example of, okay, so go play Russian roulette, or don't really, but claim you did. Go to your mother and tell her that you did the smart thing and you played Russian roulette, and it was smart because you won. You didn't die, clearly, because you're telling her the story. And the lesson here is that playing Russian roulette must be a good thing. You were smart because you survived. And she will explain to you the difference between being smart and getting lucky. Right? Your mother will understand the risk that you took. There was a 1 in 6 chance that you were going to die for no reason. Right? Same thing. Your IT manager should instantly freak out and be like, you're making us all at risk depending on your cell phone number instead of a stable number that can be transferred to any device at a moment's notice, turned on and turned off, redirected and whatever. That's an everyday fail. That is the definition of not doing your job, right? Now, it's kind of like the security guard who doesn't lock the door and just leaves, right? Well, it was the middle of my shift, but I got a hankering for a burger. So I went to Whataburger and I sat there all night and I just left the place unlocked. I think it was a good decision because we can't tell that anything was stolen. Well, if your employer knows you did that, they're going to explain that that was not a good decision, and that while you may have gotten lucky that you managed to get a burger and nothing was stolen, you didn't do your job. You failed. You were incompetent, right? So these are the same kinds of things. And so that's the number of risks. And this person is talking about all the problems he has because he can't use Google Maps, because he can't take his phone with him, because he's terrified of his phone being exposed, because he's just scared of everything. He's scared of everything. He's an American who's very scared, so that's part of his mantra. But these are real risks, right? Things that those of us who have business lines, which cost practically nothing, don't have to worry. But what if I lose my phone? Well, it'd be really annoying. I got pictures on it. I got all my apps on it. I got my things configured. I like this phone. It's an expensive phone. I'd rather not lose it. Of course, you don't want to lose it. But the difference is it doesn't impact my ability to keep working. It doesn't impact my ability to earn a living. I don't have to call my employer and say, you know what? I made everything for my job tied to a physical device that I don't have. It's not like I have a laptop and I need to sign in. Someone stole my laptop. I have to get a new laptop. So I got life disasters. I'll be back online tomorrow. That's one thing. Like that could be, I have really bad tummy ache. I'll be back on tomorrow, right? Things will keep you from being able to work from day to day. But having to call your employer and say, I've permanently lost access to things that there is no excuse to have permanently lost access to is problematic. So so he talks a lot about being a digital nomad, but lacks basic digital nomad literacy. And these are things that I think those of us who've worked from home for a really long time, or people who work in big companies that let them work from home sometimes, you get a lot of benefits from that because there are skills like, oh my gosh, you know, clearly those of us who worked for big, like I worked for Citibank, working for Citibank, and then working at home sometimes. There were tons of things that every single person at Citigroup knew. They knew how to use their phone from home. They knew how to get their email at home. They knew how to sign in to work from home. All these things. They knew how to do this from anywhere at any time because they did it sometimes. And it's clear when you get people who are attempting to be a digital nomad for the first time and to trying to learn the basics of just office work for the first time while being a digital nomad, it does create some problems that there are sometimes these massive gaps in understanding of how things work that can really catch people. And so that was the example we saw today. Jan says, well, this is a late live stream. Yes, I know. Ambiente. I was just brainstorming for my trip to Nicaragua. Funny how you just started the stream. It's been a long day, let me tell you guys. D. Gilbert, happy Sunday. I just told my boss I'll be leaving, quitting, and moving to Nicaragua for a while in a month or so. Cannot wait. That's awesome. Congratulations. Brian says, I said it, censor me. Jan says, I'll come back to listen to this later. Sadly, I have to go to sleep. My weekends are way too long. Everyone have fun. And Brian says TLS. We have very few people on. It's very quiet. Just 9 people on right now. But, I mean, it's super late. Totally understand. It has been a busy day. I was in Managua this weekend. Unfortunately, my kids got kind of sick. And so we were in Managua for a couple days. I did discover a nice new apartment. Not new. I mean, it was new. Also new to me. I discovered a rental apartment that I really like, and I'm going to be using in the future because it's an Airbnb. It was reasonably priced and a lot of space. Full condo, two bedrooms, big bedrooms, nice, air conditioned, decent bath, hot water, full kitchen, living room, all that stuff. Night, Brian. And it was less than a lot of the hotels. And in a great location. I took some video, so I'm going to show it to you guys soon. And it's right in Santo Domingo, which is fantastic. It was walking distance to a number of places that we go. It was cool, and the kids enjoyed it, I think. I mean, they really like staying in hotels, but all the space, having a living room, that like couch and chairs, we could like sit around and talk, and there was a dining room table, so we could sit around and eat, and there was a kitchen, so we could like clean up and stuff, and the kids having their own bedroom, they like that. They like being close, so I think they really prefer this to having 2 hotel rooms. At times they like that because it's unique. We don't do that very often. Normally we all stay in one hotel room, but I think when they do that, they tend to be, for a night, it's fine, like they don't care. But if we're doing it for a long period of time, I think they very quickly are like, this is a very small space. Like, they get nothing to themselves. And with this, they have their own room, and we have our own room, my wife and I. And then there's a living room. So, like, my one daughter will be napping, another one's, like, camped out in the living room, watching YouTube or something. And it just works out really well. So that was really nice. But I think that they like that we have, like, a living room, so it's very easy for us to hang out, but also easy for them to have their own space. So I think we're going to use that a bit. D. Gilbert says, "Can I get your WhatsApp or some form of message, Scott? I would like a way to contact you. Maybe we can meet up when I make it to Nicaragua." Yeah, absolutely. Best thing is just join the WhatsApp group because you need to join that anyway. Join the Nicaragua WhatsApp group, and then you automatically get my WhatsApp because when I let you in, you see it. And you definitely want to be on the group because that's how you get lots of information. But don't go trolling people; you will get banned. It's funny to be like, here's the place you got to join on the night that we had to ban someone. It's pretty rare that we have to ban someone except for the obvious bots just posting garbage. Let's see, copy link. Oh no, I can't copy there. I can copy here. But it's pretty quiet. Yeah. So good trip to Managua in that respect. But the kids were mostly sick, so we didn't get to do a lot. Did check out, I think, a new restaurant. Trying to think of where we went. I know we went to Chow, which is awesome as always. We ordered in. We did some pedidos jawing. We got pedidos jaw from Bru, and we got pane y vino, which we normally eat there all the time. We tried Papa John's. Oh, thanks to you guys, a number of people mentioned that Papa John's has the most American pizza in Nicaragua. It's probably not the most in the whole country, but it's more than pizza. Like the Pizza Hut here is American-ish, but they clearly don't know what the American Pizza Hut is supposed to taste like, and they're pretty close. You can't fault them for not knowing, right? They have no way to know, but it's not that close. Like it's noticeably different. Maybe different cheese. Maybe they don't put on as much. I don't know. I used to work at Pizza Hut, so I could probably figure it out given enough time. But and for some reason they don't deliver here anymore, which is weird. But so people kept telling me that Papa John's was exactly Papa John's from the States, and I'm like, well, it's not my favorite, but they're not bad. So they're in the Galleria, so I was there, so I grabbed one, and they were right. It tastes exactly as I remember Papa John's tasting, which was pretty cool. So we will get that from time to time as a opportunity to have a very American pizza. That was a nice change of pace. So that was a lot of what we did. We did a couple coffee shops, ran into some new people, and talked to some of you guys on the street, and that was kind of it. Mostly it was an adventure in checking out a condo / apartment, rental condo in Santo Domingo. That was just a fun experience on its own. Really liked the layout, had a pool. It was just a nice setup. It was very nice. And I left my charger there, and they're like, we got you. We'll hold it for you. See you in a few weeks, because I got to go back with the kids anyway. We did a little bit of shopping, just a tiny bit. And we were there for my daughter's birthday, but she wasn't like just... We need to go back and spend more time. Hey, is that you, D. Gilbert? Just requested to join. Sounds like a pizza shop would be a good side business in Nicaragua. So it's a tough one. So the issue there is, one, Nicaraguans don't like American pizza. They also never get it. But there's a few places that do good pizza. Most won't do American. Like, people just don't want to eat American. Nicaraguan pizza is very different. A lot of cheese glops, always lots of toppings, never the simple pizzas like America. They won't even sell them. Places that make them won't even sell them. They'll be like, no, we won't put that on the menu. Right? Like, the way Americans eat, not here. So there's a real lack of interest. So you could have a really great pizza shop, and a few exist, And you may not get very much business. So that's the first piece. The second piece is creating that American pizza is extremely difficult, because to do a good American pizza, you have to have access to really good water. They have drinkable water here, but I wouldn't call it really good water. And even a lot of the United States doesn't have the kind of water that you want for pizza, so that's a challenge. Two, getting really good mozzarella is quite difficult. In the places that do really good pizzas, they do water buffalo mozzarella in cold climates, which is absolutely fantastic, right? We can't get that here. We get decent mozzarella, but we don't get excellent mozzarella. And then the same thing for like all the ingredients is like, oh, we can get good things. Sometimes we can get really, really amazing, high quality alternative things. But actually coming up with the right things to match an American pizza is surprisingly difficult. And I think Papa John's is literally importing it all from their own warehouses. And I think Pizza Hut is too, but is lacking a little bit direction. But there's a lot more of them. But that's the barrier, right? If I could just go get quality ingredients at the store, I'd be making pizzas at home. I own a professional pizza oven, right? But making our own pizza at home is hard. And I used to, like I said, I used to work at a pizzeria. My wife is Italian, right? We've lived in the heart of pizza country in New York. We lived in the heart of pizza country in Italy. Like, we're pretty big on pizza, right? Like, we're really serious about it and always have been. And we're restaurateurs. And we have friends who are restaurateurs who have pizza places. So we have a lot of exposure to it in a lot of different realms. And it is hard. If you made a really good pizza here, you could create an audience and get people. Like, there is a larger and larger audience of Nicaraguans who want higher quality food, who want variety of food, who want to try different things, who are willing to who go out on a limb and be like, I know this isn't what you've been eating, Nicaragua, but you want to try this, right? That's there. It's growing. And so I think you could potentially make it work, but you're up against a ton of competition who would be making pizzas in the Nicaraguan way for a third your price. And so that's hard to compete against, because your cheese will cost 3 to 10 times as much as their cheese costs. Your bread will cost 50% more. Your sauce will cost 10% more. Whatever, it just adds up. And then you are going to cook in a wood-fired brick oven, or you're going to get something. Whatever you're going to do is likely going to be more expensive. And there are places doing that, right? But it's they are challenged. And so all the places pretty much that I know that are doing okay with pizza are either low-quality Nicaraguan pizza in bulk or Italian-style pizza with loads of quirky toppings, right? Salmon pizza, truffle pizza, eggplant pizza, right? Not bad, but they're doing an Italian, Napolitano style pizza with good, high quality, but very exotic toppings, because Nicaraguans are mostly looking for this wild toppings and lots of toppings, whereas and mostly it's because it's a cover, right? Well, the bread isn't as good as you would hope, the cheese isn't as good as you'd hope, and keep in mind, this is a big one I learned recently. If you're an American or you're a European, right? So the Italian and the New York pizza hubs, right? One of the things that's common between them is that the majority of the population in the region is white. And if you look at a map of lactose intolerance, or more importantly, lactose tolerance, it is unique to European genetics to have a reasonably high tolerance for dairy products in adulthood. Think about that for a second. Only Western Europe, Australia, and North America have a regional propensity for cheese as a major protein source. How this plays out is that, and of course there's exceptions. There's always exceptions. But when it comes to big numbers, If you're thinking of an American pizza, whether it's a paper thin New York City pizza or a thin-ish but quite stable upstate pizza, or a quite hearty Detroit pizza, or the chain pizza places or whatever, the percentage of the pizza that is cheese is a lot. Maybe not in volume, but in weight and in calories and in flavor. You're eating a cheese dinner that may then have other toppings for flavor. It may have quite a bit of bread to hold it. It may have rather a bit of tomato sauce to flavor it. But the cheese is what makes it the thing. And this is true across a lot of different food items, cheese plays a really significant role in a lot of American food. There are cheese sandwiches, grilled cheese, mac and cheese, right? These are common to the world. Cheese isn't a protein source. Cheese is a flavoring. So a standard cheese stick, now there are exceptions, right? Like Venezuela does a pretty serious cheese stick. Like, it happens. But if you say a cheese stick in the United States, you expect a mozzarella stick. You expect something that's 90 to 95% by weight cheese, and then 5 to 10% breading, right? And that's about it. And it's a cheese item. The only major cheese that you get like that in Nicaragua is this thing that's like paneer. It's almost tofu. But you're talking like solid cheeses? No. Very rare. So if you get a cheese stick in Nicaragua, the average cheese stick is this piece of bread that's been fried, and there's this tiny strip of quite savory cheese in the middle. And the whole thing's delicious, right? So kudos for them for figuring out how to make a cheese stick with cheese flavoring that's still really good. But you're not going to get your protein from it. It's a bread item. So it comes from a panaderia, not from a dairy. And it's not what you're expecting at all. Good, yes, I get them all the time. Like them. Not healthy, no. But neither is the mozzarella stick, so it's okay. But so cheese here is a flavoring. Nicaraguan pizzas, even though they have cheese, the cheese is not the star of the show. It is a bread. It is a thick bread. Sometimes you can't even find the cheese. Normally you can. Normally there's plenty of cheese, and you're like, okay, it's not very cheesy. It's a lot. It's twice as much bread as I'm used to, and a third the cheese. But there's still cheese. Now we were at the baseball game, and we got the pizza there, and literally could not find the cheese. It was surprisingly good, and there was a notable cheese flavor, but we could not actually identify any actual cheese. It just kind of had a cheesy taste to this okay bread. That's a big difference. And so because of that, you have a couple of items, right? The cost of pizza from the United States would be outrageous here. Not just the ingredients, but the amount of cheese you use. And many Nicaraguans would not digest it well. It would be an overwhelming amount of cheese, and so you'd have a restaurant that was routinely giving everyone stomach aches. Wouldn't make them sick, but they would be like, I don't feel so great after eating at that place all the time, right? So there's a lot of challenges, even genetically, to having a really good pizza restaurant here. Fantastic Phil. Some of you pick some pretty hard names to pronounce, especially when it's on a live stream and I'm reading it live. I'm living super cheaply in the States and saving money living in a Class A RV. I provide all my own power from solar. Is it possible to live on farm super cheap with access to water in my RV? Okay, so and I'm loving your content. Thank you. Well, I'm loving your feedback on my content. So thank you very much. Okay, is this going to be easy to live on farms and do? No, that's not going to be easy. That's going to be quite hard. Let's just be straight up and honest. It's going to be hard. Is there any actual limitation saying you can't do that? No, of course you can do that. Like, being allowed to do things here, very easy. So what's going to be hard is no one's going to have an easy water hookup for you. So be prepared to deal with that all the time. No one's going to have any idea what's going on. This is going to be just layers of complications in describing what you need, coming up with it. Now, if you're like, hey, can I park here and can I pull water from your well in a bucket or something? They'd be like, okay. But if you're like, I want like a water hookup, they're gonna be like, I don't know how to help you. Um, Powering from solar will work fine. Getting an RV here, extremely hard. So very likely there's a bunch of challenges here that you are not picturing. Things that are likely to be tough. The tip, that's the temporary import permit. That's going to be brutal. Absolutely brutal. If you were just driving through the country, no problem. If you were just staying for a couple weeks, no problem. If you plan on really staying here in your RV, it's going to be taking that RV out of the country and back in over and over and over and over with tons of driving, tons of bills, tons of time at the border, time filing paperwork. It's not going to be a happy situation. I know people who did that with just like a Jeep and a trailer, and they were so sorry. It Trust me, we think it sounds amazing. Like if I could get and I realize this is cheating a little bit, but if someone would gift me a $300,000, $400,000 RV, right, with solar power and like all that stuff, and be like, okay, Scott, your challenge is to live in this for the next year, I'd be like, cool, let's do this, right? Thank you. That would be amazing. What a cool experience that would be. Absolutely, right? I'd be all down for that just because I think it sounds fun. So I totally get why it would be neat, right? No question. But that tip is going to be killer. So unless you have a plan for that, make sure you really, really internalize what that means, right? And really internalize. There will be no exception to all the pain that you're warned about. Every bit of it will come true. You will not be I heard some guy had to drive out of the country every 30 days and somebody had to do. No, it will be you, for sure. Right, so make sure you either have a plan that you're just importing that thing and paying the unbelievable tax on it, right, $100,000 tax or whatever, or you're only here for a few days or whatever. Make sure that you understand that tip. Second thing is, while our roads are pretty good, they're not meant for RVs. You're going to find a lot of places that are difficult to pass. A lot of places. Farms especially. You're going to be on dirt driveways, sometimes really rough. So just be aware, right? You can get around in an RV, but I've never seen someone actually do it. So you may have some real problems with that. There are somewhere RV parks. There was one that I knew of that had space for 2 RVs, but they got bought out and is gone now. I won't tell you who bought them. And so those problems will exist. But other than that, can you live on a farm with access to water in your RV? And I'm assuming what you mean is live on other people's farms, like moving farm to farm so you can see the country. I mean, for a little bit of money, farmers are going to be pretty freaking happy that you're there, right? Hey, can I'm clearly a rich foreigner. I have an RV, right? Can I park it here and pay you some rent? $50 a month for just sitting over here? I'm not going to use your electric. I just need some water from your well that you pay nothing for anyway. People are going to be like, seriously? Can I get more of you? Can I make a pad here for something? Right? There's no one else, but it's a really good deal for some farmer. Someone's going to be like, no, I don't want you here, of course. But for very little money, it'll be an extremely nice additional income for someone who will never even notice you. Right? So I think it will be quite doable in that respect. But be aware of all the places you can actually drive from a physical driving perspective, and be aware of the tip. Those are the killers. Manuel Calado says Little Caesars is very famous across Nicaragua because it's very cheap and not sure if it's American. Honestly, I don't know if it's American either. I think it might be Canadian, but yeah, it's very famous in the U.S. too for being cardboard. It's actually, I think, this is a funny one. I think Little Caesars here, under normal conditions, is better than it is in the States. It's still not good, but it is here. But if you get Little Caesars in the wrong place, it comes with no cheese and it's just sprayed with ketchup. So be aware that Little Caesars caters to the Nicaraguans and makes terrible, terrible ketchup bread that we would not classify as pizza. We would not accept it being called pizza in the U.S. And maybe it isn't, right? We might be correct. I'm saying we're snobby is what I'm trying to say, and that we would be disgusted by it. I've seen it, and it's gross. But sometimes we get Little Caesars, and sometimes it's okay. But they won't sell you a pizza without meat on it, so we rarely get it because we have to take the meat off and feed it to the dogs in order to eat it, because we're vegetarian. Richard Johansson says, one thing I can never get over is the Nicaraguan hot dogs. What is it with drowning a hot dog in mayonnaise? It's so true. It is wild. Nicaraguan hot dogs are an adventure. And Marcella, who does the show sometimes with me, La Marcelita, she has her own little hot dog business, and they do exactly that. And you're just like, this is insane. Like, why do people eat it like this? I can only imagine that the hot dog is so terrible, because I don't eat meat, right? So I can't comment. I've been told by some people there's some pretty good dogs here. But the bread is so big, and the amount of toppings so insane. Like I don't even know how they can tell there's a hot dog in there. It's crazy. And if you go to one of these good stands, like so here in Sutiava, if you go to the main square, the main plaza in Sutiava, which is a big old pre-Columbian city square, it's actually really cool, right? You're stepping back in history. You stand in Sutiava and you're like, this is over 500 years old. Like let's be clear, this is old. You think Leon is old? This is much older, but it wasn't colonial, so it didn't get the distinction. But you go out there, and we got a line of food carts every night, maybe a dozen. Like it's a lot, and there's some places that do the hot dogs, and it's a good half-hour show. That's probably an exaggeration. It's probably 10 minutes. It's a lot. You stand there for the longest time watching them cook hot dogs, and they're like cooking the hot dogs. They're cooking all the different toppings. They're toasting the bun, and like it's like all this stuff going on. It's amazing they can do it for like $3 or whatever it is for the hot dog. It was like $1 when we first got here. And they just go on and on and on, and it's just all this stuff. And then you get this dog that's like this big, but it's a normal size hot dog. But it's a bun, and it completely covered in so much stuff. It's like elote loco meets a hot dog. It's wild. Ambiente says Detroit pizza over Chicago pizza. I don't even consider Chicago pizza pizza. It's Chicago pizza, and it's not pizza, and it's not good. Detroit pizza I really like. Jet pizza from Detroit, I really like that. Really good. Scott, from your knowledge, how quick is general home construction in Nicaragua? Do crews drag their feet like some parts of the U.S.? Well, sometimes they will, for sure. It depends how you set it up. We've had a crew where we're like, so we're gonna negotiate on a house, right? And they give us a price, and we're like, okay. And we agree to a slightly higher price than we wanted, but then we're like, but here's the deal. You get 80% of the money for completing the house. You get the other 20% by completing it by the agreed upon date. And they want the money. They're like, ooh, we're getting a really good deal on the house. And then they realize, oh my gosh, we have to finish the house. They move. They really moved. And we did it on one where there were things completely out of their control. They could not finish the house. We paid them anyway. But they hauled, right, to get the house done. So it depends. If you have a good relationship, you have a good contractor, you have a good contract, right? If you're paying them by the day, of course they're going to drag their feet, right? If you allow them to go work on other things and not be at your spot, then they're going to take who's ever paying the most that day. You're never going to get priority, right? Those kinds of problems are more or less universal. But if you pay for a crew to show up and they tend to work, right? And if you pay them by the job, they're going to be getting that job done. I think someone just knocked over our dog barrier at the gate. So in general, I feel like construction moves pretty quickly here in my experience. But everywhere has, construction does take time. But I think that the really bad dragging their feet problems like in the U.S., mostly we don't see. Not actually finishing things and trying to take off, that's more likely, right? Oh, it's close enough. Like, we're done. No, you're no. That's the big thing. Are there payment plans for construction or land loans in Nicaragua? For all intents and purposes, no. Are there banks? Could you get loans? Do things exist? They do. Could you get lucky and find one that actually makes sense? You could. Are you realistically going to, or can you bank on it? Pun intended. No. It's very much a getting lucky, but not like a 1 in a million, more like a 1 in 20. So you could easily, know someone who eventually did manage to get one and pulled something off. Yeah, it can happen. But mostly everyone just deals in cash. And the time you'll get potentially payment plans is when you're dealing with someone who's, especially a foreigner with plenty of money, and they want to unload a property and they know no one else will buy it. Or you have a developer who wants to move things quickly and they have already secured funding themselves. And so they know by getting you in that if you don't pay, they have the ability to reclaim your property very easily and roll it into a sales process they already have. And they want to move the properties quickly. So they have an incentive because they've already made their profit somewhere else. And so they can give you a loan. Once in a while, that'll happen. But it's definitely the exception, not the rule. So really plan on that it won't be available to you, and just be happy if it is. That's about it. Hey, we've been on for 50 minutes, which is more than I was expecting. We are past midnight here. We don't have a ton of people on. We don't have a ton of views, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm glad you guys got on. I'm going to be wrapping this up because it is super late. It has been a long weekend, and someone is coming and going out my gate, so I need to get out there and see what's going on. But thanks everyone for jumping on and hanging out. I did film that apartment, so we're going to be showing that. I did film a little bit of the Ipico, so I will show a little bit of that. We had a nice seat at Gaquitos, and I did run into Jeffrey from the community, stopped by and said hello. And with that, I will see all of you. Oh, and don't forget to hit that thumbs up, of course. I forgot about that. Give the video a like. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ScottAlMiller. If you want to join our community here, there's a join button right. Where is it? Is it here? No, it is here. These are reversed. I just realized. No wonder I get confused. So right here is the join button here on YouTube, where you can join the community. And with that, I will see